is a, I mean,
It's the
not,
same thing
even
out there.
like the teleosemantic argument is what he is kind of
Yeah,
annoyed with.
they reduce to the same problem, though. The whole point of using intentional language is
And if you're going to judge me and say I should not do that, then you shouldn't do yours. But you're appealing to certain things because you know there's certain justices. You will enforce your moral value. Hopefully, you see a man beating up a woman in a restaurant, you're going to step in and stop it, okay? And you're enforcing your moral value in your decision. And you will do this, and I will do it too. If you're going to say I'm wrong for enforcing mine, then you're wrong for enforcing
oh no,
yours.
I'm not outright saying you're just
Mm.
to wrong. I'm get asking around
Mm.
about the
being
able to situations where, like, even if distinguish you between inform her coextensive that her traits. soul, for example, is up in the air as far as eternal
Right.
damnation, that seems
But
like
hang
it
on.
would be psychologically harmful for given people, right?
So what? Is
So
her psychological health the final issue?
well, in this case, it's your child. Do you not think your child's psychological health should be probably a primary interest?
No.
Zebras run and make the thump thump noises at the same frequency, and the lions or the selective pressure. Which trait do we pick at that point? And then
Well, that's the thing.
No.
What if it pushes her further away from religion to make her
What's
psychologically
the
fragile?
it?
I'm sorry, what?
You see, what you're doing is talking about subjectivity. I
What if
actually have
you
three
inform
daughters. One of my daughters is very far away from God,
How?
very far. And I inform her, well, of the consequences.
I see. But are we talking just mild consequences? Like, for instance, is it just that she stole a piece of candy one time, or that she tells occasional set, right? Let's say that you have a data set about the lions and the zebras, and I have my data set concerning the Virgo cluster of stars, right? If I use the laws of particle physics and astrophysics, my result, if correct, is absolutely going to follow and comport with my observations, right? Lies, because it seems like there are cases where it's more relevant, where you have to consider their psychology. Like, I wouldn't mind admonishing my child.
Why should I consider their psychology?
Why should you?
Yeah.
Well, because she's your child.
What's that going to do with her being my child?
You, given a data set about lions and zebras, your observation in no way is intelligent.
There we go. There's the issue.
Right. So here's the problem. So if Elliot Sober wants to rely on examples of predator-prey relationships to be the ultimate distinguisher,
He's not, though.
well, he is, though, in the example you gave.
I mean, well, he's in that. I mean, that's the example, and I don't think.
Why should I consider her psychology? I want to know what your reasons are for that.
It just seems like you would care about your child's psychological well-being. That seems a fairly.
I do care about myself. Yeah, I do care, but why ought I to do it?
Oh, I see. Well, I'm not really asking about the moral fact of the matter, about if there is an ought there or not. I'm just asking, as a Christian, how should this be handled?
As a Christian, how it should be handled would be to inform the person that there are spiritual consequences to their actions.
Even given the fact that that information might make them more psychologically fragile.
Yes. Well, there's a yes and no. Let me tell you something. It's not like a universal rule that every time you meet someone who's psychologically fragile or emotionally, let's say emotionally fragile, okay, that you just go tell them. You get a woman who just lost a baby. Yeah, your baby's in hell because you're a sinner. We're going to say something like that? Of course not. We use wisdom and judgment and things like that. If I'm talking to a girl who's a stripper and wants to do porn stuff, and she's talking to me and she says, "Isn't this wonderful?" I'll say, "No, it's not." She goes, "What do you mean?" Well, it's a sinful thing that you're doing, and you need to consider this. It's not like this one thing we just apply in any and all situations. You're talking about a specific situation and not really with any parameters about the situation as well. How do we inform somebody? We Christians aren't out there just throwing a Bible at somebody and saying, now pick it up and read it, you jerk. It's not how it is. We care about people and we want to inform them.
Well, I'm not sure anybody's had my particular experience. My daughter did actually want to do pornography. I mean, have you ever encountered that before? Right. So in the example of lions, where the
we did make. Well, hold on. We did make my example like officially coextensive. I guess I can also
have a genus, right, of particular types of organisms. Yeah. We call a duck, but as it turns out, the genome of ducks can vary with some significance, right? So if we were to try to make a deterministic counterpart, a specific encoding deterministically of particles for a duck, we've already got a fucking problem, right? Because there's going to be hundreds of millions of fucking things that translate from a duck to a set of particles. Just the genetic diversity alone in the ducks is going to result in millions of different fucking particle configurations for a duck.
Let's just say this, that I'm not going to answer that one.
Oh, interesting. So I take it by not answering, you're referring to the fact that your daughter does porn. So if you take that problem and then make it even worse by saying things like chase, right? Lions chase the zebras. How the fuck do you talk about that in deterministic ways, right? So like, what would chase look like in particles? Yeah.
The this is what people like this do, um, because the reality is that they know they're wrong, and the only way they can feel better about themselves is to try to do things to harm uh, people personally. Here's a guy talking about psychological harm and the psychological frailty of others, and yet he's purposefully wanting to try to cause psychological harm to people. The reality is this shows not only the hypocrisy, it shows uh, the sinfulness of people that want to do nothing but try to prove that they're going to glorify their sinfulness. And I'm really trying to think about how to explain this, because this is an individual who, this is a person who has been waiting just so that he could try to get his one-uppance. And I this is something that when I was talking earlier with Michael about trolls, this is the frustrating part. This is